The Phillies hit a home run and the ball went into the stands, and the ball landed kind of in front of this group of people, but there was a scrum to grab it.
Baseball is supposed to be about joy and unity, but that night in Miami, it turned into pure chaos. One swing of the bat was supposed to deliver nothing but celebration, and instead, it gave birth to a brand new villain. Her name, Cheryl Richardson Wagner, but online, she was baptized with a nickname that burns, Phillies Karen. And once that clip made the rounds, the booing from the stands didn't just stay in the ballpark, it echoed across the entire world. It all went down at Lone Depot Park during a heated Phillies versus Marlins showdown. Phillies outfielder Harrison Bader launched a rocket into the left field stands, and instantly the crowd exploded, scrambling for the dream souvenir every fan secretly hopes for. Cameras zoomed in tight, capturing the magic, and a young boy reaching high, gloves stretched, his face lit with hope. For one shining second, it was a picture-perfect baseball moment until everything flipped upside down in the blink of an eye. Out of nowhere, a woman rocking a Phillies jersey lunged forward, snatching the ball right out of the air. And in that single grab, it looked like she didn't just take the ball, she stole the kid's dream in front of millions. The groans from the crowd weren't just loud, they were gut-wrenching, and within hours, the internet had done what it always does, crowned a villain. The name stuck instantly, Phillies Karen, and once the internet brands you with a scarlet title like that, there's no going back.
Oh, she's clearly in the wrong. So the basic rule is foul ball, home run, adults involved, it's a scrum, right? And it's just a fight to the finish until someone secures the ball and holds it up. Then it's their ball.
By the next sunrise, Cheryl's face was everywhere. Clips of her gripping that ball like treasure stormed TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Memes turned her into the ultimate bad guy of the week. Fans didn't just roast her, they compared her to baseball's most infamous embarrassments, from Ball Hog Dad in New York to the Cubs' notorious foul ball fiasco years earlier. But here's the twist. This wasn't just another quick meme cycle. By morning, rumors were already swirling, and the storm around Cheryl was only getting started. The internet wasn't just roasting Cheryl, it was digging for dirt. Commenters swore she had already been fired from a New Jersey school district, while others pushed a wild theory that she was sneaking around in Mets gear just to dodge being recognized back home in Philly. None of it was confirmed, of course, but facts didn't matter anymore. In the era of viral shame, speculation spreads faster than wildfire, and right in the middle of the circus stood one man who never asked to be famous, the father in the red jersey. This dad had been the real hero of the moment. He was the one who actually snagged the home run ball during the scramble and proudly handed it over to his son. But that's exactly when Cheryl stormed in and demanding it back like it belonged to her. The cameras didn't just catch her anger, they also caught his hesitation, frozen in that impossible split-second choice. Keep the ball for his son or cave in to avoid making the night spiral into chaos. That single moment of indecision became internet fuel.
Thinking because a ball landed in your vicinity, it's yours, and then going and confronting a father who got it for his kid is so outlandish.
Was he standing tall as a protective dad? Was he too soft? Or was he just a father desperate to salvage his kid's once-in-a-lifetime experience without creating an ugly scene? And just like that, the memes got meaner, the rumors got louder, and suddenly this wasn't just another viral clip. It was evolving into a scandal that refused to die. That's when mainstream media couldn't resist jumping in, and out of all the voices to fan the flames, none was louder than Megyn Kelly. Kelly lit the match on national TV, spinning the whole saga into a full-blown talking point. She even joked that she's basically becoming a sports commentator these days, bouncing from the US Open to the NFL and now this baseball circus. But her tone made it clear this wasn't really about a ball. It was about the messy collision between diehard fandom and ruthless viral shame culture in 2025. Kelly played the clip raw for her audience, letting Cheryl's "my hand" protests echo through the broadcast. Suddenly, the boos weren't just stadium noise anymore. They were national headlines. The studio panel laughed at the ridiculousness of it all, but the commentary that followed cut like a knife. Rich Lowry didn't hold back, laying down what he called the golden rule of baseball etiquette. If grown-ups are fighting over a ball, fine. But the second a kid is involved, every adult is supposed to step aside. He argued Cheryl shattered that unwritten code in spectacular fashion. And worse,
knowing myself, I think I may have very calmly explained that there was no way in hell she was getting that baseball back from my son.
She didn't just grab the ball, she went back and confronted the father, trying to wrestle it away from his son after the fact. In Lowry's words, "This just isn't done." But not everyone agreed with the dad's reaction. Charlie Sykes admitted he would have played it differently. He understood why the father gave in. Sometimes it's easier to surrender than to let one furious fan ruin the entire night. Still, Sykes was blunt. If it had been his kid clutching that ball, there's no way in hell he'd let anyone rip it away. That sharp contrast set the stage for a fiery debate. Suddenly, the scandal wasn't just about Cheryl anymore. It was about the dad, too. Was he too soft, folding under pressure? Or was he actually the only adult in the room, choosing peace over pride? Fans watching at home picked sides instantly, and the internet turned their arguments into a full-blown viral thread. Some praised his calmness, others dragged him for being weak in front of his kid. For Megyn Kelly's viewers, the segment became bigger than just laughs at a woman in a Phillies jersey. It crystallized a dilemma every parent could picture. Do you stand your ground and risk a nasty public blow-up, or do you sacrifice the big moment just to keep the night peaceful? And that's when the scandal flipped. Cheryl wasn't just Philly's Karen anymore. She became a symbol of how America now navigates messy public confrontations in a world where every single second could blow up on TikTok. By the time the morning shows picked it up, the Phillies Karen saga wasn't just a viral sports clip anymore. It had mutated into a full-blown cultural drama.
Back when I was a kid, if you didn't get the ball because someone acted like a Karen, that was the end of it. And you learned that life has disappointments and shitty people and move on. Now we often see this, like, they're going to have a parade in the child's honor. He's going to get a bat. He's going to have a Philly spend the summer with him, teaching him baseball, you know.
Every outlet wanted a piece of the story, and the deeper people dug, the uglier it got for Cheryl Richardson Wagner. What started as a heated baseball moment now spiraled into a nonstop cycle of internet sleuthing, personal attacks, and heated debates that refused to let her fade into the background. At first, the focus was still on the ball itself. Was it truly hers to claim? Should the dad have stood firmer? Should the crowd have intervened? Those questions sparked endless sports radio segments, with callers yelling about tradition and etiquette like they were debating the Constitution. But as soon as the memes died down, people went hunting for Cheryl's backstory. And that's when the scandal took on a life of its own. On Twitter, self-proclaimed investigators began sharing screenshots of a woman they claimed was Cheryl working at a New Jersey school district. The rumor mill caught fire with claims she had been fired months earlier, with one viral tweet bluntly asking, "So this is who's teaching kids?" Others posted grainy yearbook photos they insisted were her, while another theory suggested she wasn't even living in Philly at all. Instead, some believed she had been hiding out in New York, occasionally showing up in Mets gear so no one in her hometown could recognize her. None of it was proven, but the beauty and brutality of viral shame is that proof isn't required. Once enough people repeat it, speculation starts feeling like fact. Meanwhile, clips of Cheryl clutching the baseball got remixed into every kind of meme imaginable. TikTok creators overlaid her furious shouts of "my hand" with dramatic soap opera music. Others slowed the footage down in black and white, captioning it with phrases like "the exact moment dreams die." A YouTube creator even cut the video side by side with the infamous Chicago Cubs foul ball fiasco, asking fans to vote on the worst ball thief of all time. Thousands of comments flooded in, and to many, Cheryl easily took the crown. But the internet didn't stop there. Reddit threads popped up dissecting every tiny detail of her appearance in the clip. One post compared screenshots of her jewelry and insisted she was too polished to be just a regular fan, sparking conspiracies that she was connected to Phillies management somehow. Another thread zoomed in on her fingernails, sparking a ridiculous argument about whether she had the claws of a villain. This was no longer about baseball. This was about branding her as a caricature, an internet villain who could be mocked endlessly without mercy. Still, the most brutal twist came when national media decided to turn the scandal into a morality play. Megyn Kelly had already fanned the flames, but other commentators jumped in too. On Fox, a panelist called Cheryl a walking example of entitlement, comparing her to the infamous Central Park Karen case that went viral years earlier. On CNN, one analyst said the dad should have stood firm, arguing that yielding to bullies only teaches kids the wrong lesson. Overnight, the Phillies Karen saga stopped being a funny meme and started being a proxy war about parenting, entitlement, and even gender roles in public spaces. Sports insiders also got in on the action. A retired MLB player told a podcast that he was embarrassed for the sport and insisted that MLB should have stepped in to officially hand the ball to the boy. That sparked a whole new debate. Should leagues have official policies for when fans fight over souvenirs? ESPN even ran a panel where one analyst dramatically declared, "This isn't about one ball, it's about protecting the spirit of the game." And then came the piling on from celebrities. A reality TV star tweeted, "Imagine fighting a kid over a baseball in front of millions." Couldn't be me. That post alone racked up hundreds of thousands of likes, and soon Cheryl was trending again, this time in spaces far outside of baseball fandom. Pop culture blogs dubbed her the villain nobody asked for, while late-night comedians roasted her in monologues, turning the saga into punchlines that millions more would hear. But perhaps the most haunting part of the scandal was how Cheryl herself seemed to vanish. In a world where most viral villains rush to issue a Notes app apology or sit down for an interview, Cheryl went completely silent. No statements, no social media, no explanations. That silence only fueled the frenzy. Fans speculated that she was hiding out, maybe even being advised by lawyers not to speak. Others imagined she was preparing a tell-all interview to cash in on the chaos, and with every day she stayed quiet, the memes, the rumors, and the fury only grew. The father in the red jersey, meanwhile, became an unlikely folk hero. His hesitation, once criticized, was now reframed by some as quiet dignity. Clips of him passing the ball to his son got shared with captions like, "This is what fatherhood looks like." Others mocked him for giving in, calling him the softest dad in America. Either way, he was now permanently tied to the saga, whether he wanted to be or not. By the end of the week, the Phillies Karen drama wasn't just a story about one baseball. It had morphed into a symbol of how quickly ordinary people can be thrown into the meat grinder of viral shame culture. A single moment, captured on camera, blasted across social media, dissected by pundits, and amplified by memes, was enough to turn Cheryl from a random fan into a household name for all the wrong reasons. And the scariest part? The internet wasn't done with her yet. Threads speculating about her past kept multiplying. YouTubers cranked out 20-minute breakdowns titled things like "The Untold Truth of Phillies Karen." Even podcasts devoted to internet culture began dissecting her every move, calling her a case study in how public outrage functions in 2025. It didn't matter what really happened in that stadium. It didn't matter whether Cheryl was fired, whether she was hiding in Mets gear, or whether she had simply made a bad decision in the heat of the moment. The narrative had already been written for her. She was Phillies Karen now, a character the internet would chew up, remix, and spit out over and over again. And for the fans watching, the lesson was clear. In an era where every confrontation can be filmed and every mistake can be meme-ified, no one is safe from becoming the villain of the week. Cheryl had taken a baseball, but the internet had taken her identity, and there was no way to get it back. By week 2, the Phillies Karen saga had jumped from social media threads into Cheryl Richardson Wagner's actual life, and the fallout was brutal. What began as a viral sports clip was now knocking on her front door. Neighbors whispered, co-workers distanced themselves, and strangers who had never met her suddenly thought they knew everything about who she was. That's the curse of becoming a viral villain. The internet doesn't just clown you online, it tries to erase your offline life too. The first wave hit her professional reputation. After the school district rumors went viral, local reporters started calling superintendents across New Jersey, desperate to confirm if Cheryl had ever worked in education. Even though no one could find solid proof, the smoke was enough to leave a permanent stain. Parents in online forums ranted, "If she was around kids, that's unacceptable behavior." Even though nothing linked her to a classroom, her name was already being dragged through the mud in circles that had nothing to do with baseball. Then came the brand impact. Within days, TikTok sleuths claimed they had tracked down Cheryl's LinkedIn, and screenshots spread like wildfire. One viral post showed her listed employer, captioned with, "Would you trust Phillies Karen with your business?" Whether the screenshots were legit or not didn't matter. Companies don't like heat. A rumor circulated that her boss had quietly placed her on leave until things calmed down, but calm never came. If anything, the storm was only intensifying. Neighbors weren't spared either. Reporters camped outside Cheryl's supposed home in South Jersey, snapping photos of a woman in a Phillies jersey carrying groceries. Even if it wasn't her, the image made rounds with the headline, "First sighting of Phillies Karen since the scandal." That same night, doorbell camera footage popped up online showing 2 teens placing a toy baseball on a porch with a note taped to it that read, "For the kid, not you." It was petty, but it showed how far the story had seeped into real communities. Cheryl wasn't just an online character anymore. She was being haunted in real life. Meanwhile, the dad in the red jersey was being showered with sympathy. GoFundMe pages popped up claiming to raise money for the boy who had his dream stolen, even though the family never asked for donations. Commentators on talk shows referred to the father as a symbol of modern parenting under pressure. And one parenting blog ran a viral op-ed titled, "We're all the dad in the red jersey." The split between his sudden folk hero status and Cheryl's villain branding made the scandal feel even harsher. She wasn't just criticized, she was cast as the foil to a man now celebrated for his restraint. By this point, mainstream media had moved from sports commentary to cultural autopsy. Editorials popped up in the Washington Post and the Atlantic, arguing that the Phillies Karen scandal said more about America than it did about baseball. One columnist wrote, "We have reached a point where a foul ball matters less than the outrage economy it fuels. Cheryl is not just a person anymore. She is content." That line hit hard, and within hours, it was being quoted across Twitter, stitched into TikToks, and repeated on podcasts. And the cruelty online only sharpened. TikTok comedians started mocking Cheryl in sketches where actresses in Phillies jerseys snatched candy from kids. On Instagram, parody accounts popped up pretending to be Cheryl, posting captions like, "If the ball touches my hand, it's mine." Some posts even racked up more followers than Cheryl herself probably ever had. What had started as criticism turned into full-blown mockery, and the internet was relentless. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Cheryl had considered hiring a PR firm to control the damage. One source claimed she reached out to a crisis manager who had worked with reality stars, but the advice she got was blunt: stay silent or apologize. Silence was already fueling the fire, but apologizing could make it worse if people thought she was being insincere. It was the classic viral scandal trap. Every option looked bad. Even MLB itself couldn't dodge the drama. Executives reportedly discussed whether the Phillies should issue a statement or simply let it blow over. Some insiders worried the incident reinforced negative stereotypes about fan culture, entitled toxic, even unsafe for families. One sports business analyst argued that moments like this were dangerous for a league already battling declining youth interest. If kids think they'll be embarrassed or humiliated at a stadium, they won't want to go, and parents won't pay to take them. Cheryl's grab had turned into a PR headache for Major League Baseball itself. By now, Cheryl's name had been cemented as shorthand for selfishness. Radio callers used pulling a Phillies Karen as slang for hogging something meant for someone else. Late-night hosts piled on with jokes that landed like daggers. One quipped, "She took more from that kid than the Marlins take from the Phillies in a season." Audiences roared, but for Cheryl, every laugh meant her humiliation was being cemented deeper into pop culture. The scary truth was clear. This wasn't going away. Most viral scandals fade in a few days, maybe a week, but Phillies Karen was different. The combination of a kid, America's pastime, and a perfect viral villain had all the ingredients to last. And as the weeks dragged on, it became obvious that Cheryl wasn't just the villain of the week. She was being etched into internet history. For Cheryl Richardson Wagner, one ball had cost her more than she ever imagined. Her reputation, her privacy, her peace, all gone in the blink of a camera flash. For the dad and his son, it was just one night at the ballpark, but for Cheryl, it became the night her life changed forever, and not in a way she'd ever wanted. While Megyn Kelly's sharp commentary gave the scandal extra legs, the clip itself was doing just fine on its own. TikTok edits piled on, layering dramatic violin music over Cheryl's furious shouts. Reddit detectives slowed down the father's body language frame by frame like it was a Zapruder film. Twitter threads compared the moment to viral meltdowns from Bagel Boss Guy to Central Park Karen. Every platform had its remix, but the storyline never changed. One woman's obsession with a baseball had morphed into America's latest morality play. But then the scandal swerved in a new direction, because just as fans were clowning Cheryl nonstop, the Philadelphia Phillies organization decided to step in. And their move didn't calm the fire. It poured gasoline all over it. Reports confirmed that the team wanted to make things right for the young boy caught in the middle of it all. Harrison Bader, the player who'd smashed the home run, personally signed a bat and sent it to the kid, along with a care package of memorabilia. For many fans, it was the feel-good ending they'd been waiting for. The boy got his keepsake, the family's dignity was restored, and the Phillies got to look like heroes. But online, not everyone bought into the wholesome script. Commentators blasted the gesture as a PR stunt. On Reddit, one user mocked, "Back in the day, you went home empty-handed. Now you get a signed bat, a jersey, and a parade." Others argued that the move only magnified how ridiculous the entire scandal had become. To critics, the Phillies weren't protecting the kid, they were protecting their image. The irony wasn't lost on Kelly's panel either. Charlie Sykes chuckled that when he was a kid, if someone embarrassed themselves in the stands, that was the end of it. You didn't trend on Twitter, you didn't get sympathy merch from the team, and you definitely didn't turn into a national headline. But in the age of smartphones, one loud outburst can spiral into a corporate nightmare. forcing billion-dollar organizations to scramble like they're running crisis management for a political campaign. Of course, baseball fans couldn't help but bring up history, specifically the ghost of Steve Bartman. The infamous Cubs fan who tipped a foul ball in 2003 had his life destroyed for years. Death threats, harassment, endless memes. Bartman became the blueprint for what happens when fandom collides with fury. The Cubs organization stayed silent for over a decade, finally gifting Bartman a World Series ring in 2017. That painful history made the Phillies' lightning-fast response look like an overcorrection. Instead of letting the storm fade naturally, they jumped in early, desperate to control the narrative before one of their own fans became the next Bartman. But here's the twist. The move didn't cool things down. It backfired. While the boy celebrated his new treasure, the internet only grew louder, mocking the Phillies for rewarding chaos. To some, Cheryl was still the villain, but now the organization was dragged into the mess too. The scandal was no longer just about a fan in a Phillies jersey. It had become a PR firestorm swallowing the entire team. The Phillies thought they had tied a neat bow on the controversy, but instead they unlocked a brand new argument. Fans blasted the team for rewarding outrage. On Twitter, one viral post argued, if Cheryl hadn't melted down, that kid would have gone home empty-handed. Now the team's acting like it was all some noble story. Others feared this was setting a dangerous precedent. Would every viral foul ball meltdown now demand a signed bat, a press release, and a parade? Sure, the boy got his happy ending. But in the court of public opinion, the Phillies had opened Pandora's box. Suddenly, the debate wasn't just about Cheryl's behavior. It was about how much power social media mobs now hold over billion-dollar franchises. And through it all, Cheryl herself said nothing. No interviews, no public statements, no carefully worded apology. She vanished into silence, and in today's internet age, silence is its own scandal. TikTok users swore they spotted her wearing Mets gear in Queens. Reddit threads spread side-by-side pictures of women who vaguely resembled her. Some claimed she had gone underground. None of it was verified, but the absence of her voice only gave oxygen to conspiracy theories. The less she spoke, the louder the internet shouted. That vacuum turned the saga from a baseball spat into something national. Just as the Phillies tried to move on, mainstream media outlets seized the story with the intensity usually reserved for political scandals. What started as a clip from a midseason Phillies-Marlins game was now running on primetime news. Morning shows dissected it over coffee tables, and columnists in major papers turned Cheryl into a symbol. Commentators split sharply. Some argued the internet was right to shame her. She had embarrassed herself, plain and simple. Others saw the pile-on as another example of viral mobs replacing common sense. Even Megyn Kelly's own panel had wrestled with the tension. How far should consequences go for a single ugly moment? Rich Lowry summed it up bluntly. Her behavior was terrible, inexcusable, but it doesn't warrant being hunted down or fired from a job. But online, the mob didn't care about nuance. Detective-style Twitter threads claimed to have proof she worked at a local school. TikTok creators insisted she was hiding in rival team gear. Reddit communities speculated she had been forced into hiding. None of it could be confirmed, but the speculation became a game in itself, the digital equivalent of a manhunt. And the longer she stayed silent, the bigger the monster grew. Meanwhile, cultural critics zoomed out. They compared Philly's Karen to every other viral Karen moment we've seen in airports, stores, and parking lots. Everyday conflicts inflated into morality plays. But this one felt different because of the setting. America's pastime. Baseball, drenched in nostalgia and family tradition, was suddenly the stage for online shame culture at its ugliest. One columnist nailed it: if even baseball isn't safe from the Karen meme, then nothing is. Even the father's role stayed under the microscope. Some praised him as the real adult in the room, applauding his choice to protect his son from a nasty confrontation instead of clinging to pride. Others dragged him for being soft, claiming he sent the wrong message by giving in. That divide spread everywhere. Sports talk radio, parenting blogs, even comedy shows. Late-night hosts roasted the entire saga, with one joke landing hardest. Philly fans once booed Santa Claus. Of course they'd boo a woman stealing from a kid. Every punchline only made the story stick deeper in pop culture. By the end of the week, the stakes had outgrown the people involved. This was no longer about Cheryl, a dad, and a foul ball. Commentators wondered if sports franchises now had to rethink everything about fan etiquette. Would stadiums start running PSA videos telling fans not to fight over balls? Would every foul ball confrontation risk exploding into the next TikTok saga? That's the terrifying part. The Phillies Karen scandal was proof that one bad moment in the bleachers can now dominate headlines across the country. And it wasn't just Cheryl's reputation on the line, it was the Phillies, Major League Baseball's, and even the image of baseball itself. From Steve Bartman in 2003 to Cheryl Richardson Wagner in 2025, the stakes of a foul ball have grown far beyond the stands. One columnist summed it up perfectly. The real game isn't on the field anymore, it's on social media. That's where reputations, livelihoods, and legacies get decided in hours, not innings. For Megyn Kelly's audience, the question became less about who deserved the ball and more about what this scandal said about us. Are we too quick to crown villains? Too eager to reward chaos with gifts, apologies, and airtime? Or is this simply the new reality and where every foul ball carries the chance of fame or infamy? The answers are murky, but one truth is clear. Cheryl wanted a baseball. Instead, she became a cultural flashpoint, and the internet never forgets. And that brings us to you. If one foul ball in Philadelphia can spark memes, debates, late-night jokes, and national commentary, just imagine what's gonna happen the next time a viral scandal erupts in the stands. So make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. Because in baseball, just like in life, you never know when the next pitch will change everything. See you on the next one.